Sri Gurubhyo Namaha children, you are welcome for online class 11. This is your third poem we are going to see today. Third poem named Lines Written in the Early Spring, written by William Wordsworth. You know that William Wordsworth is known as a nature poet as his poems are all about nature. He was a major English Romantic poet who launched the Romantic age in English literature, along with T.S. Coleridge. You know, T.S. Coleridge had taken unusual things which is unnatural and he just made the poem, and William Wordsworth took nature as the thing and he had just wrote the poem. So, William Wordsworth's poem will be very simple and it will be enjoyable while a small kids used to read itself. He was Britain's poet laureate till his death. Some of his popular poems include Daffodils, The Solitary Reaper, To the Cuckoo. His poems create pleasantness in the mind as we read them. So this poem, Lines Written in Early Spring, is also one such. It's about nature, and the man does harm to the nature that also was explained here by the poet. So the poem tells you three themes. First, he talks about the nature, how pleasant the nature is, and the second one, it tells that human beings are harming themselves, and third point, he tells the same human being not only harming themselves, they harm the nature also. So the simple theme of the poem is the nature has been destroyed by human being. The nature is giving pleasant, and God given this nature as a blessing to a human being, but the same human had not accepted the nature, they are just destroying it. They are destroying the mankind as well as the nature. So the selfishness of the human being makes the destruction for the nature, and at last the whole humankind was affected. So this had been very clearly said by the poet, and what all the nature brings to him he is talking about. You know that we have 4 seasons: winter, summer, autumn and spring. In that, spring is the most loveliest season because all the greenery things you can see. So after autumn, the spring will be just after the leaves all fallen, it will be getting the trees, the plants and the other things will be getting new leaves, and it will be so beautiful, and it will be an enjoyment for your eyes, and it will be a pleasant thing for your mood, and that had been enjoyed by him in the spring season, and he is talking in the poem about it. We'll see the poem and then we'll see how it is. Okay, so before that I'll just give the gist of that. The poet was reclining, that is relaxed in a grove, just he is sitting in a grove and enjoying the nature scenery. And when he was enjoying this, he got something in his mind about a human being, how harsh these people are to destroy such a nature. So he is enjoying the nature and he just explains about it, and then he just tells you that nature is very clear and pleasant thing, and it gives goodness to the human being, but the human being are destroying it. And he is feeling sad for the man which he is just making to the nature. It has not been bared by the poet, and he is just telling that he is lamenting for what man has done for man and for the nature. So it is very clear to you. Okay, we'll see in the poem. Let us go. Okay, Lines written in early spring, William Wordsworth. So William Wordsworth is a poet and he just writes, and see, you can see the natural scenery. By seeing that, you will be enjoying. It will be a pleasant to your eyes and for your thought. About author. William Wordsworth was born in the year 1770 and died in the year 1850. Was a major English poet who with Samuel Taylor Coleridge helped to launch the Romantic Age in English literature with their joint publication, Lyrical Ballads. So lyrical ballads had been written by him just with the T.S. Coleridge. So they both joined and wrote a poem called Lyrical Ballads. Wordsworth was Britain's poet laureate from 1843 until his death. So he started as Britain's poet laureate in the year 1843 until 1850, till he dies. He was the poet laureate of London. He was popularly known as nature poet. So he used to write about nature, and when you start reading a William Wordsworth poem, it is so lovely. You'll never keep the book. You'll be reading many times. Such a lovely poems he wrote. So it is all belong to the nature. You know that nature is a lovable thing and you will love because it is related to that. The Solitary Reaper example. He was popularly known as a nature poet. Some of his famous poems are Daffodils, The Solitary Reaper, To the Cuckoo, The Tables Turned, Lines composed a few lines about Tinternabie. So these were the poems, and other poems also there. So these were the samples of his poem. The speaker says that while sitting in a grove, his mind is filled with both pleasant and sad thoughts. So the first line itself tells you he was just sitting and relaxing himself in a nature, and the poet feels and tells that he was having two thoughts. One is pleasant, one is sad. The pleasant thought had been given by the nature, and second, the sad thought is given by a man. He is also nature, God created, and he is doing something destruction to the nature. So that brought him sadness. He could associate himself with nature, but he feels distressed at the fact that human beings are exploiting nature. So why he is sad? Because human beings are exploiting the nature. This had been not accepted by him, and he is lamenting for this. And he feels very sad for this. The atmosphere around him is calm and pleasant with flowers in the sweet bower. The air is breezy and everything seems to be happy. When nature desires such peace, it is only irresponsible act of human beings that brings sorrow to other human beings and to nature. So this poem tells very clearly, it tells how nature brings a good, pleasant mood to him, and the same nature, man, human being, what they had done, their activities brought sadness to him. So very simple. He was very happy and admiring and enjoying the day with the nature, but with the same nature human being, when they are doing something to the human being and to the nature, that was very, very, very irresponsible thing done to them, or it is something injustice, and this had been felt by the poet very clearly. Okay, so I'll read the poem and then we'll go for line by line explanation. Before that, I read 1,000 blended notes, while in a grove I sat reclined in that sweet mood when pleasant thoughts bring sad thoughts to the mind. To a fair works did nature link the human soul that through me ran, and much it grieved by heart to think what man has made of man. Through primrose tuft in that sweet bower, the periwinkle trailed its wreath, and it's my faith that every flower enjoys the air it breathes. The birds around me hopped and played, their thoughts I cannot measure, but the least motion which they made, it seemed a thrill of pleasure. The budding twigs spread out their fan to catch the breezy air, and I must think, do all I can, that there was pleasure there. If this belief from heaven be sent, if such be nature's holy plan, have I not reason to lament what man has made of man? Grew a small area of land with a group of trees. Sat, an old-fashioned spelling for sat. Recline, lean back in a position of rest. Grief, mourn or to feel intense sorrow. Primrose, a wild plant with yellow flowers. Tufts, bunches, bower, a pleasant shady place under trees. Periwinkle, a trailing plant with a large blue flowers. Wreaths, an arrangement of flowers in the shape of circle. Lament, to express sorrow or unhappiness about something. Okay, so we go for each line explanation now. The poet was reclining, that is, he is sitting relaxed in a groove. His mind is filled with pleasant and sad thought. The nature linked its work with the human soul, but man has lost his link with the nature. So here a simple thing, nature is having a link with God, but human being is not having, and this nature links God and man with the nature as a pleasant thing. Okay, we'll see each line and we'll go for the poem. Okay. I heard 1,000 blended notes. What do you mean by blended notes? So here the poet hears blended notes, a sound, by just sitting and relaxing himself in the groove. He heard so many blended notes. You know that if nature is there, birds, trees are there, birds will be there. And that too, it is a spring season, you can hear all sorts of birds singing songs. So here he was, I heard 1,000, not one, here thousands of blended notes. So a music, a sound had been heard by the poet. While in a grove, I sat reclined. So what do you mean by reclined here? Relaxed. So he was just sitting in a grove where a nature is there, a lot of trees are there, and he hears thousands of musics, thousands of sounds, and it was so pleasant to him. In that sweet mood, so he was sitting along with the nature, with the birds, with the animals and other singing songs, notes, and with the breeze, with the flowers, and he was just enjoying the nature, and there was a pleasant mood in his mind. I heard 1,000 blended notes, while in a grove I sat, S-A-T-E, sat, here it is Old English. For sat. So he was sitting and relaxing himself in a grove, and he hears thousands of notes of sounds, and that was so pleasant for him. In that sweet mood, so he was sitting in the grove and he was hearing thousands of sounds, musical sounds made by the birds, and he was enjoying that. So the mood was very happy, pleasant. So in that sweet mood, when pleasant thoughts, so he had a sweet mood and a pleasant thoughts, bring sad thoughts to the mind. Bring sad thoughts to the mind. So it brought sad thoughts to the mind. So it is very clear, children. You understand these 4 lines. Let us move for the next 4 lines. Okay. To a fair works did nature link the human soul that through me ran, and much it grieved my heart to think what man has made of man. So here the poet feels very sad. What he feels? So here he feels to her fair work. Here to her fair work is nature's work. Nature's fair works did nature link. So it was God created nature in a pleasant way, and it is also giving the good mood to the human being. So as it had been created to give goodness for the human and to the earth and the pleasant things, it is doing its duty. So nature link the human soul. What the nature is doing? It links the human soul to God. So because God He created human being to be happy. So God created human being to be happy and lead a happy life. So here God created that, and nature is giving that pleasant thing and goodness to the human being, and it is linking God and human being. So link the human soul, it linked the human soul to God. So human soul is linked to God by the nature. That through me ran. So the pleasant mood came to him, and much it grieved. But something came to his thought, something was running in his mind. When he was sitting and relaxing and enjoying the pleasant thing given by the nature, all of a sudden he got a thought in his mind. All of a sudden a thought. That thought grieved him, and much it grieved. So something ran through him, that is, some thought ran to him in between, and much it grieved my heart to think. So it grieved. He had a pain in his heart by just getting that thing. So he was feeling very pleasant in the nature, but something, the thought, which gave him unpleasant, and that made him to think, hard to think. What man has made of a man. So what man made for the nature and for the man. This had been realized by him. That thought brought a sad, grieved mood. So long he was enjoying the nature and feels very happy, All of a sudden, one thing, one slight thought of a human being brought him that they are distracting the nature, and that thought made him feel very sad. He was grieved. So you understood the two lines, this the second stanza and this 4 lines, children. Shall we go for the next? So what man has made of man? So what he is doing? So he is destroying the nature, and he is destroying the other person's happiness also. Because he is destroying nature, there is no more nature, means the other human being will not have a relaxation, and they will not be able to enjoy the nature. When we are destroying the nature, we are destroying the moods of human being also. So this had been realized by the poet. When this thought came to him, he was very much worried about it, and immediately his happiness, he had a happiness, and along with that some grief was there in his mind. So it is very clear to you? Okay, children. Okay, children, this two stanza we have learnt. We will continue the remaining stanza in the next part. To receive our online lessons, please press the subscribe button and you will receive the latest updates, children. Thank you.